know that Inferno is meta in this game. Inferno and Radiance, they are very powerful. We have already made several builds with them. And we have discussed about some of the weapons that you can be using with this kind of builds for your characters. Specifically with Inferno, we're going to be using this beautiful bad boys that you see on the screen right now. They are very damaging, they are very powerful, and they are actually much more damaging than Pieta's sword and Elian's sword. But we'll talk about them later. Now you will notice as well, since this is going to be a mainly, purely an Inferno build, you might be wondering, well, isn't this going to be quite troublesome, quite difficult to play around with once you reach the end game, the late areas of the game where you have enemies that are resistant to fire? Well, that is precisely why I have this footage for you in the background to see that even though that we are fighting these elite enemies of the endgame areas, the build is still very much powerful. You are going to be dealing less damage than the rest of the showcase that we're going to showcase, pardon the redundancy, on the rest of the endgame areas. So yeah, you are going to deal a little bit less damage, but it's just so high, the damage on this thing is just so high that it doesn't really matter that much that you are in this area or not, because you're still going to be efficient, you're still going to be dealing tremendous amounts of damage for you to be able to sweep the floor with the enemies that you have in front of you. Before we continue though, I would also like to take a moment, like always, to invite you to join our Discord server. This specific build uses one weapon that you can only get one per playthrough, so you might be wondering where can I get the second one. Then there's always people around there in the Discord server willing to help you, drop you weapons, runes. We're going to be covering all of the games that are going to be releasing on RPG departments, Souls-likes and what have you, so that is a place where you can just chat with people and get help from us. That said, let's begin first with the best possible characters that you can have for min-maxing purposes if you want to min-max, and that is going to be, of course, the Pirate Cultist. One more class that you can be using for this specific playthrough, it's going to be the Lord. Unfortunately, something happened to one of my save files. My save files got corrupted, so yeah, there's still quite a lot of people that is struggling with that. I no longer have my unlocked classes, so that is a bummer. We have the Pirate Cultist right here. This guy is going to have Endurance, Vitality, and Inferno, which are arguably going to be the only stats that we're going to be using. We're not going to use any Strength, any Agility, any Vitality, any Radiance. The character template that I have for you right here does actually have quite a lot of that stuff. But that being the case, you'll realize that it doesn't really matter what kind of class. It's just that you begin with. This is just for min-maxing purposes. If you want to min-max your character right here, either the Condemned or the Pirate Cultist or the Lord, each one of those three is going to be just amazing. So let's talk about stats. You can see here that my character level is 115, even though that I didn't begin the game with a min-max character. Arguably, the most important stats for you is going to be Endurance, Vitality, and Inferno. And actually, Endurance is not going to be that much of a high priority. Endurance is you do not need that much Endurance in this game. I'd say that for the end game, 20 it's more than enough. I don't have 20 because I've managed to manage my attacks a little bit better. But just to be on the safe side, 20, it's more than enough. As for the armor, we're using the Lord armor, and even though that we are using the Lord armor, we're still going to be able to mid-roll, so that's something that you need to have in mind. So these are the endgame stats, and arguably I would say that your endgame stats for 115 characters should be Endurance 20, Vitality 40, and Inferno 75. So as you can see, I have a little bit more Vitality in here that I could be spending on Endurance. That's one thing that you need to have in mind. If you min-max your character, if you start your character as a Pirate Cultist or as a Lord, you're going to be able to min-max your character and reach this endgame level a whole lot sooner. Remember that we have the hard cap on Inferno right here. We have the cap, the final cap at 99, and then we have the soft cap between 40 and 50. So these are the stats that you want to have at the end game. Now though, on the early game though, Inferno is already going to be on 18 for early game, so it's safe for you to start popping up Endurance and Vitality 15 and 15. Early game, you're still going to have your Inferno on 18, at least that's the case if you began the Pirate Cultist. So just 2 points more in there, it's going to be 20. So 15 Endurance, 15 Vitality, and 20 Inferno. Mid-game. On mid-game, you want to reach the soft cap for Inferno, which is 40 and 50, depending on how much damage do you want to deal, how much comfortable do you feel with leaving some points out of health to reach your 50 sooner. The maximum threshold amount of damage, the maximum returns that you're going to be able to reach with this character is going to be 50. So either 40 and 50, 40 if you want to have your vitality somewhere around 35, if you want to have your vitality on 25, which is more than enough if you're able to tank through anything that you have in front of you. You're very agile, you're very nimble, you're very good at dodging and blocking, so on and so forth, then might as well place your points into Inferno to 50, have the vitality to 25, mid-game your endurance should be on 20, so endurance 20, vitality 25, and Inferno 50. If you're very a little bit more on defense, then change that vitality to 35 and Inferno to 40. And that's just more than enough for early game and mid game, and you already have the stats for the end game. The equipment. As for the catalyst, it doesn't really matter that much what kind of catalyst do you have. I found that the Roger Hearts functions very well. But the main thing that we want to be using is the Grinning axe. Now remember that you can ask in the Discord community that we have in the channel if you want for someone to drop you want to start a new playthrough, you want for someone to drop you this weapon. I can drop you the weapon myself. This is a weapon that you can only get once per playthrough, so if you want to dual wield it as I am doing right now, something that you can do is ask a buddy of yours to drop you the weapon. Maybe ask in the Discord community for someone to drop you the weapon. Like I said, there's always people helping in there, and if no one else helps you, I might be just wandering around there reading through your messages, which is something that I do, and I might be willing to give you the an improved version even. So we have 445 attack power. Just for context, this is a one-handed weapon. Alien's weapon is one of the highest damaging weapons that you have in the game for one-handed weapons, and Alien's sword has 450, so this guy has 50 more damage. This is one of the very few weapons that has S scaling on their main stats, so as you can see we have S scaling on Inferno, so this is going to be the main thing. This is going to synergize as well a little bit because it has fire damage. It has fire damage and wither damage as the main means of damage. And what do you know, we're going to be using the Ring of Knight's Fire to increase our damage with fire and wither damage. So this guy right here is going to be increasing our damage by quite a lot. And then for the amulet we have the Roger's Delight to increase the fire damage and holy defense. And then the Mine Owner's Ring, which is something that I always use as a basic. Now for cosplaying purposes and just because I think that it looks amazing, the Lord Armor, because I just love how this thing looks. And that is basically everything that you need to do. As for the spells, Lava Burst, it's just amazing, and then Infernal Weapon, those are the two ones that I always use. Lava Burst for dealing damage from a distance, and then Infernal Weapon to increase my melee damage. Now the runes, I want to stress out, if you're looking for a particular rune, there's also people on the Discord server that is going to be willing to give you runes. The main thing that you want to have on your 3 slots, I have just two with my character right here. This guy has 3 Inferno slots and then 1 meta slot. The meta slot means that you can allocate any kind of room that you want. 3 Virulence is going to be amazing, it's going to be perfect, it's more than you need. 3 Virulence increases your damage by quite a lot because it increases the attribute scaling, and since your attribute scaling for Inferno it's already that high, then this is going to be that much more damage. And since this is the case, I don't particularly have them with me right now for this specific character, but since your damage is already so high, then you might as well be socketing two runes for health and kill. So that's something that you can do if you want to manage a little bit more, you don't want to spend that much more resources. Remember that opposite to Holy, we don't have means of healing ourselves with this character other than our Sanguinarics, so that's something that you're able to do as well. And that is pretty much a character. It's a very well-rounded character. It deals quite a lot of melee damage. It deals quite a lot of range damage. It has you covered pretty much on every single front. And like I said, it doesn't matter that much once you reach the end game, once you reach those areas where it's very difficult because the game utilizes some of the boss assets for them to be elite enemies that are resistant to fire. It doesn't really matter because we deal so much damage that we can punch through them like there is no tomorrow. So even though that there are fire resistant enemies in this game, it doesn't matter that much because we deal that much more damage that we can completely negate the resistance that they have because of our high damage capabilities. And whenever we're not fighting anything that is resistant to fire, then we're going to be melting them as well. Remember to like the content, subscribe to the channel, and join the Discord if you haven't already. And also, if no one's told you today that you're gorgeous and beautiful person, you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. A beautiful day and goodbye.